2023 Colorado was truly a whirlwind. For a program that pretty much no one cared about a year ago at this time, Colorado was the most talked about team in all of college football. After a crazy head-spinning offseason, Colorado actually got off to a decent start in 2023. People were giving Shedeur Sanders the Heisman, we're talking about Colorado making the championship, and we're already planning on building a statue for Dion. Except everyone was forgetting that college football is a 12-game schedule. After a hot start, Colorado completely fell off, missed the bowl game, had some crazy miserable moments, and honestly really aren't being talked about a whole lot. While they are secretly loading up for 2024, Colorado football had an insane season and deserves a rewind. In today's video, we're going to talk about what happened to the Buffaloes. How did they go from the most talked about team in the offseason to the most hyped up team in September, and then a program everyone laughed and forgot about the rest of the year. But before we get started, if you're a big college football fan, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I could cover next. Now let's get started and talk about what happened to the 2023 Colorado Buffaloes. Before we get started, I want to interact with you guys more on social media, so be sure to follow my Instagram, shoot me your thoughts on today's video, shoot me a future video suggestion, or if you just want to talk college football. I've been a little bit lazy with answering, but I'll try to get to all messages. Before Coach Prime arrived at Colorado, no one really cared about the Buffalo. Besides their weird 2016 season and their hot start in 2019, the Buffaloes were really irrelevant and were near the bottom of the Pac-12. In fact, when conference realignment was coming around, they were likely going to be left out. They didn't bring in any money, and they could barely put fans in their own stands. But Colorado went out and made the splashiest hire in decades as they went out and got Coach Prime. This was huge, and he made waves from the very first time he spoke as the head coach. On December 4th of 2022, he told his team plain and simple how it would be. He said that not everyone in the room would be on the 2023 roster, and there was going to be a lot of turnover, and some guys were going to have to hit the portal. He said, quote, "We've got a few positions taken care of already because I'm bringing luggage with me, and it ain't going to be no more of the mess that these wonderful fans and student body have put up with for probably 2 decades now. I'm coming, and when I get here, there's going to be a change." In fact, Colorado had an extremely hyped up preseason, and Prime delivered on his promise. No college football team added more players through the portal than Colorado, which in total had 49 transfers. They had 57 guys leave the program, and a lot of big-time names too. The biggest names included 2022 #1 overall recruit Travis Hunter, his son, former 4-star quarterback Shedeur Sanders, and 4-star wide receiver transfer Jimmy Horn Jr., who arrived from South Florida. They also got a couple of big-name recruits, as they nabbed 5-star recruit Cormani McClain, flipped 4-star running back Dylan Edwards from Notre Dame, and also grabbed 4-star receiver Omarion Miller. There were a lot of guys and big-name recruits who wanted to play for Prime, but would the hype hit, or would it all fall apart? Well, experts were split. Many believed that Colorado could maybe steal a couple of games, but more than likely they'd only win 4 or 5 games. That was the reasonable expectation, and I personally thought they'd only win 4 or 5 games as well. There was also the other people who thought they'd win a national championship, and that was likely for clicks. I saw entire YouTube channels start up just to talk about players who were transferring to Colorado, and honestly it got out of hand. After 9 months of preseason hype, Deion Sanders would finally hit the turf, and Colorado was ready for their primetime matchup. In their first game, they pulled off an opening shocker as they beat 17th ranked TCU 45-42. This was a huge deal because the Horned Frogs were last year's national runner-up. After the game, Shedeur Sanders said, quote, "A lot of you guys didn't believe in us. It's crazy because you just got to understand our coach, Coach Prime, and everywhere he went, he was a winner. Every game, every opportunity, he took advantage of it." Shedeur had reason to flaunt that game as he ended up completing 38 passes, and 4 Buffalo receivers had over 100-yard performances. Colorado outgained TCU 565-541 in total yards, and while their offense looked great, everyone knew the defense was absolutely atrocious. That would have to get fixed, and also another takeaway was just how good Travis Hunter was. He was playing on both sides of the ball, and there was legitimately a case at him being the most dynamic player in the game. Next up for Colorado, though, was an old Big 12 rival, Nebraska. In that game at home, Shedeur Sanders would throw for 394 yards and 2 touchdowns, and while the offense did stall at times, they ended up putting up 24 unanswered points as Jeff Sims and the Nebraska Huskers would struggle. Colorado was only a 3-point favorite, and they ended up winning by 22. This was a big deal. The Buffs were now 2-0, and they had beaten 2 Power 5 teams, so there was reason to think that they were at least going to have an okay season. Except, after that, the hype really started to fall apart, and maybe the drama got to them. The Rocky Mountain Showdown is one of the most underrated games in college football, and with all the attention being on Coach Prime, Rams head coach Jay Norvell decided to make a statement of his own. In a pregame statement, he said, quote, "I sat down with ESPN today. I don't care if they hear it in Boulder. I told them I took my hat off and I took my glasses off. I said when I talk to grown-ups, I take my hat off and my glasses off. That's what my mom taught me, and Colorado's not going to like us no matter what we say or do. That was a direct shot at Coach Prime. He was a little bit unorthodox in how he did things, and to some, he wasn't very professional. The way that Jay Norvell ended up leaving Nevada was also not professional, but that's for another video. All in all, Norvell was just trying to create buzz for his program, who lacked a lot of it for quite some time. It was kind of uncharacteristic for him to say something like that, but it did add a lot of fuel to the fire for the game. Colorado went into the game as a 23-point favorite. Everybody was going to be watching this game, and for the most part, the Rams were actually the better team, and Deion's Buffaloes looked dead in the water. But they would hang around and gave themselves a chance. Shedeur Sanders led a 98-yard drive and threw 2 touchdowns in overtime to give them a 43-35 win over Colorado State. This shut Jay Norvell up, but they ended up losing a player in the process. The craziest moment of the game was when Travis Hunter was absolutely laid out by a Colorado State defender, and that dirty hit set the college football world into a firestorm, but Coach Prime would redeem it. Hunter was running a deep route in the first quarter, and he was hit so bad that he had to go to the hospital and was diagnosed with a lacerated liver. But as I said, Deion ended up making good out of it, as he forgave the guy, and apparently both him and Travis Hunter would end up going to a bowling alley that next Wednesday. They made peace with each other, and it was a big national story. Great. Colorado was now 3-0, and the two programs no longer hated each other, at least on the outside. Except that was the peak of Colorado football in 2023, as everything went downhill from there. This is where the downfall began. Dan Lanning did the same thing as Jay Norvell and decided to call out Coach Prime. He said, quote, "The Cinderella story is over. They're fighting for clicks, we're fighting for wins. There's a difference, right? This game ain't gonna be played in Hollywood, and it's gonna be played on the grass." Would Lanning eat his words? Nope. Oregon ended up skull-crushing Colorado, as the Ducks were up 35-0 on Colorado at halftime. Lanning at halftime said, quote, "We're not done yet. We're not satisfied, and I hope everyone that's been watching Colorado every week is still watching." That honestly was super funny, but it didn't get any better, and Colorado got absolutely demolished. There was a bit of a glimmer of hope the next week though, as when USC came to town, they actually had some legit hype to them, and it was a big game. While USC got up big, Colorado would end up coming back, but they fell short and lost by 7. From there, Colorado got its next win, as Shedeur Sanders would throw 2 touchdowns, and would eventually set up a game-winning field goal as they would beat Arizona State 27-24. This would end the Colorado Buffaloes' 8-game Pac-12 losing streak, and Sanders said, quote, "Wonderful win, but we played like hot garbage, and I'm trying to figure it out. I'm sick of this, and we're better than this." At this time though, I was honestly happy with everything that had happened. It's nothing against Colorado, but there was one comment in particular that did sort of annoy me. Shedeur Sanders got so unbelievably full of himself that he actually claimed he wouldn't go to the draft unless he was the number 1 pick. Even if he was number 2, he wasn't going. Either him or his dad or some unknown person said that, but that circulated around, and from there, I wanted him to get some humble pie. That would end up happening, and it would peak with the Stanford game. Colorado was beating the Cardinal 29-0 at halftime, but Deion Sanders had an uneasy feeling in his stomach. What would happen next was the worst collapse in Colorado history. Stanford's coach Troy Taylor knew it was coming, and eventually they hit a 31-yard game-winning field goal. Stanford wide receiver Alik Iomanor had a school record 294 yards as they ended up rallying back for a 46-43 victory. Coach Taylor said, quote, "It's a special game for these guys to be down 29 against a really good team and not quit. We'll enjoy this one." Sanders, on the other hand, was not as happy. He said, quote, "From youth on, I don't remember being up 29-0 and losing a football game. I really don't. This one's tough for me. Right now we're not built for the moment, and some of our players aren't built for the moment where they have to make a play." From there, Colorado would go on a 5-game losing streak, but 3 of them would come by 1 possession. The first loss came in number 23 UCLA, as they lost that one by 12 points, and then lost by a touchdown to number 16 Oregon State. The Buffs were now 4-5 and would just need 2 wins to get to a bowl game. From there, they lost at home by way of a game-winning field goal to number 21 Arizona, and that was when it seemed Colorado gave up. They had nothing left in the tank, as after that, they got absolutely killed by Washington State 56-14, and this would end their bowl hopes and the season was over. From there, they would put up a fight against Utah as they lost on the road by 1 score, but they would finish at 4-8 for the 2023 season. After being crowned the national champions in September, the Buffs had a complete freefall. Prime and Shedeur got humbled, and everything got exposed. Colorado had started out 3-0, captivated the entire college football world, and unfortunately, they would lose a lot of that fortune, and the team sort of turned on them. Even some of their own players and coaches left. Their big-time offensive coordinator Sean Lewis left for San Diego State. Coach Prime's quarterback commit Danny O'Neal followed him to San Diego, and a lot of players left. In terms of what they need to do to get better next year, they obviously have to hire a couple new coaches. They need to revamp the defense, get some more playmakers for Shedeur, and I think just prepare to get more physical. Besides the defense, the main thing they need to do is improve the offensive line and just get tougher in the trenches. That's where college football wins, and there's no reason why Prime shouldn't be able to get big-time linemen to want to come and play for them. Everyone knew that Colorado's 2024 class was going to be a little bit smaller. There was a lot of bad energy going around as kids were flipping or choosing other schools. Going into 2024, I don't really know what to expect for Colorado. I think honestly they should be able to get to 6 wins, but I really don't know what kind of team will show up. No matter what though, it's going to be a movie and everyone's going to tune in. Colorado sold all its home games for the first time in school history last year, and they'll likely remain as one of the hottest tickets in the game. Everybody wants to watch them on TV, everyone reads about them, and YouTubers like me make videos about them. Colorado's athletic director said, quote, "Our head coach is maybe the greatest marketer in the industry. The impact Prime had on the program cannot be understated. Colorado as a program probably would have gotten left behind, and the economic impact he's had on the city of Boulder has been unbelievable. If he can now just field a solid football team, then I think Colorado will be a dangerous program in the Big 12 and a team to watch." But 2023 was a weird year and was full of the highest highs and the highest lows for him. Today we talked about what went wrong for him, and now I want to know your thought. Why do you think Colorado completely fell apart? What do you think is the actual future of the program? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support my work, follow me on Instagram, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.